Too many things going on. I'm trying to hit the button that turns the camera on. Instead, I started a countdown again. That's not what I'm looking for. It's coming. The camera's coming. Promise. There it is. Look at that. Look at that. You almost didn't see me. Momentarily, you couldn't see me. Were you okay? Did you survive that 30 seconds where you should have seen me but didn't see me? I barely survived it. I'm sorry. Hello. How are you? It's episode 199 of Writer Radio, which sounds like a lot of episodes because it's a lot of episodes. We're approaching 400 hours of Writer Radio. So they say, 10,000 for it to be good or something, right? So I just need, we're getting there. We're almost there. We're almost at 10,000. We're up. As we approach 400, I'm thinking about 10,000. That's the Malcolm Gladwell thing, the 10,000 hours. I've been reading Gladwell again. I read everything he put out for a while, and then I just forgot. I kind of forgot about books. It's not so much that I forgot about Malcolm Gladwell. It's that I forgot about books. Oh, I forgot to turn on the fancy new light that makes so you can see my face better. I'm leaning into this thing, leaning into this part where you want to see it. It's not that you want to see it. It's that I need videos to make short videos to recruit more people to come watch and listen to the show. All right, what's better, that light? That one's too blue. That one's too orange. Probably this. Okay. That's fine. I've got the regular light up there still, and that's most of this is. But as you can see, when I wear the hat, I was told that it's just one guy. He said, this is the look for me. This is the signature look. It's with my little BKR. Those are my initials. It's not really my own personalized hat. It's Brad Keselowski Racing, but those are my initials. So my wife bought me the hat. I searched for so long to try to find BKR merchandise. I even have a friend who's like in the NASCAR, Dave Buchanan. You might know him from Fast Track on WGR. He was trying to help me. He's like, hey, got a friend who wants your stuff, Brad. His name is Brad, too. I don't even like NASCAR. But his name is Brad, and it's Brad Keselowski Racing, so it's BKR. Looks great. And it took years to find this thing. And I don't wear it very often because, honestly, I like how it looks right here. And this is right. I'm going to keep this here as, like, part of the uniform. Like the rugby shirt, pointing over the wrong shoulder. Like the rugby shirt back there, which is the same colors as the color scheme for Writer Radio. That's going to be a regular part of the show. It's even there when I'm not wearing it. But it's there for when I accidentally am about to wear the same shirt on the show twice in a row. I hope I didn't just do that. I don't remember what I wore yesterday. I think I put this on since. I think. I don't know. There was no shower involved, so I didn't, like, overhaul everything. What are you going to do? There will be a shower tomorrow, but you won't know because tomorrow's show is going to be, it's going to be great, but it's going to be on tape. Because tomorrow's a travel day. I have to leave right at 10. It's episode 200. I want it to be spectacular. It's Halloween. I want it to be spectacular for that reason. And it will be. It'll just be pre-recorded. There's one thing that will be a repeat for sure, and that will be the conversation I have about 20 minutes from now with Paul Peck, because that's going to be good. A, we like having Paul Peck on anyway. B, Paul Peck missed last week's UB game. He's done 300-plus UB football games. We celebrated his 300th game at some point last season. So now he's up in the 310 range, or would be, had he not missed the last game, and he's going to miss this game. But he's coming back on, is it the 11th or the 12th, whatever it is, the next game at Central Michigan. We expect to have Paul back and up and running, fully functioning. Want to bring him on, A, to prove to you that we're not lying about his well-being. He's not being held hostage anywhere. He's fine. It seems like he would be. If there's a UB football game and Paul Peck's not there, you're like, who kidnapped Paul? And I know that. So I want to prove to you that we didn't do anything to Paul, but also to let him tell the story of what's been going on, the reason he's missing a couple games, and him coming back. And last week we just said he's sick and got on with it because we found out the day before that he couldn't do the game. And then this week we know in advance that he's not doing the game. But you can't just say, yeah, Paul's still sick. We'll see how it goes. We'll let him explain. I don't want to do it. I want him to do it. And then we can talk about it, and it'll be cool. So Paul was watching the game from home. He was chiming in. He was sending texts about the game to the point where Scott Wilson, during the broadcast, said to Paul's wife, turn off the TV. We don't want to hear from Paul right now. And she said, yeah, fat chance he's going to let me turn off the TV during another tight UB football game. So expect another one on Saturday, but Paul won't be a part of it, but he'll be on the show. So that is the one thing that I know that will be repeated. So I will look exactly like this tomorrow during that portion of the show. Because what's got to happen is after I finish today's show and then edit it down for the podcast version and put it out on YouTube and put it out on Spotify, then I have to do a show for tomorrow. I also have to record a podcast with Scott for UB because we put out a separate UB football podcast every week. So I've got to record that, get that in, and also put together a 2-hour show. All of this so that I can get on a bus tomorrow at 10 a.m. and go to Bowling Green. And then for the first time in my life, I'm the color commentator. There's a lot more work that goes into being color commentator than to being pregame host. That's kind of my bag, man. Pregame host. Know a little bit about everything. Know the right questions to ask everybody. Let them fill in all the information. And I just hang out and make sure it goes smoothly. In addition to setting up the equipment. So for UB football, for anybody who wonders, and people do wonder. People ask me all the time, what do you do? Are you the announcer? Well, it's not the announcer. Paul is the announcer. And then Scott is the other announcer. And then I'm the other guy. So I have a microphone. It looks a lot like the one that I wear during this show. Headset. But typically, I spend most of it like this. Like, I'll come back and I'll say, UB football is brought to you by Coke Zero. Dude, Coke Zero's awesome, ain't it? Paul, back to you. And then Paul will do the thing, and Scott will do the thing. And once they do that, I kind of do this. One ear off, so I can hear what's going on in the booth, in case people are coming in to talk to me. Very often, like home games, Bob Gaughan is standing right next to me. So this frees up an ear so I can have a conversation with Bob. I also have to turn down my microphone, not unlike this, where I reach over and go whoop, and turn that thing off so that as happens, I don't know, at least once a game, often like 3 times a game, some play will happen and I'll just yell out, oh my God, or no, or got it, or something stupid. The stuff that comes out of my mouth when I'm not thinking about being on the radio, I have to turn the mic down because I'm living in both worlds. I'm the engineer for the broadcast. I set things up, set up all the equipment. I'm not building anything. That's architect, right? I'm not structurally. Look, they call it an engineer in radio. I'm sticking with it. So my job first is get there, get the equipment up into the booth, set it up so that the 3 of us can all do the broadcast and we can welcome in Mark Allnut when he comes. Oh, dude, put the mic back down. Dummy. I'm talking with the mic up on top of my head. Sorry, I was quiet there for a minute. But that's what happens when you have one on and one off. You hear the real world and the show. And if I just hear my voice, I forget that it's not coming from here. See, I just demonstrated the kind of stuff I'm up against when I'm doing multiple jobs. So I'm the pregame guy and the engineer guy. And then as soon as usually like kickoff hits, I go, and now all I have to do is read commercials. Well, guess what? I'm still reading the commercials, but I'm also the guy. Scott's playing Paul as play-by-play. I'm playing Scott as color guy, and then I'm also still I'm still me. So I've got 2 jobs tomorrow. 3 if you count engineer. And then I'll probably have to go downstairs to do post-game interviews. One of us will. And then we both have to do TV. So it's like 5 jobs. And I'm saying tomorrow, but by tomorrow I mean Saturday. We leave tomorrow. The game's not till Saturday at noon, pregame at 11. But all that will happen. There's a point to all of this. I was explaining the microphone thing. It doesn't matter. Usually Scott's on live on Fridays. That's not going to work. So I will record with Scott. Maybe you'll hear a chunk of the UB podcast as a part of tomorrow's show. You're definitely going to hear the conversation with Paul Peck. That's already going to happen. That'll be a repeat. But I'll put it at a different time, stagger it. So like if you listen at 10:30 every day, you're not going to just hear the exact same Paul Peck thing tomorrow. We'll put it later in the show or whatever. Also, I already recorded a thing with my buddy Ben, who we heard 2 days ago. He's the guy who was kind of following everyone around at Bills Panthers. All my buddies, 14 of my friends went to Bills Panthers, and Ben was the guy with the microphone who was giving us reports and constantly referring to our sponsor, Brian Janik, and thefinancialguys.com. So It's not that thing, which was a bunch of interviews and little segments that he recorded that I patched together to turn into 20 minutes of radio the other day. This has been live, except not live because we already recorded it, but you'll see. And it's Halloween, so we're going to shake it up a little bit with that too. We'll see how crazy and spectacular the 200th episode Halloween Spectacular ends up being, depending on how much time I have based on getting ready for this football game that I don't want to say I'm unprepared, but I've got a lot of work to do between now and kickoff to make sure that I can remotely fill the chair vacated by Scott as he moves over to fill the chair by Paul. Scott's really good at this. I am not. I'm good at this part. It's like the host guy. So we'll see. We'll see how this football game. I recommend tuning in. I might crash and burn. I might be the next sensation. Child prodigy at age 50. Might be me. I don't know. We'll see. The one thing I will say is do not expect a 100% standard broadcast. I just don't have it in me to try to imitate every color analyst that I've heard for my entire life. I do have it in me to hang out, watch a football game with Scott Wilson and talk about it. I've been doing that for a long time. So that's what I'm going to do. And we'll see how it goes. We'll see if they ever have me back. They might not want me back to do the part I'm good at. I might be so bad at the new part that they're like, you know what? You've embarrassed yourself sufficiently. We think we're going to go in a different direction for the rest of this season. And yeah, we're going to a bowl game and you're not going. And yeah, we're going to Detroit for the MAC championship game and you're not going because you were so bad in your attempt as a color man 16, 17 years into doing these games. Something like that. 17. There were 2 years I didn't do them, but I still worked there in-house. I just wasn't on the air. But I guess this would be my 15th year of broadcasting. I think I'm ready. I think after 15 years of sitting in chair number 3, I could do a game at chair number 2. But it's a whole different world. I don't typically have to sit and study film. And by film, I mean watch the game on TV. But it sounds cooler when you say film. That's how you do it in the podcast world. It used to be when you had to go to school and then like get interviewed by someone who knew radio to get a radio job, and then you worked in radio, you would learn how to do stuff as opposed to just making it all up. And back then, you had to like the standard, and I kind of hated it. And this is where I started kind of breaking away from talk radio as it existed. I hated the fake. The part where just a guy who's a beat reporter talks as if he grew up watching Mel Kiper on TV and grew up watching, we'll just say Adam Schefter on TV. Imitating that all the time. Well, this guy's got he's got a thick bottom and deep knee bend. You got to watch the knee bend. His explosiveness with his hands and the 3 technique, like all that crap. I can't do that. Like mixing in jargon to make it sound like you know more than you do. I don't do that ever. That will be different. Me doing a football game. I don't fake things, at least in that manner. I fake things in a fun radio way because that's kind of the beauty of radio. You can pretend you're doing your whole show. Not with this friggin' camera going, but like I think back to when I worked with Bulldog at BEN. We were able to, the one night, it was a Friday night, we just decided we were going bowling. Except we didn't go bowling. All it meant was I put sound effects of a bowling alley behind the final 2 hours of the show. And Bulldog would come back from the break and be like, yeah, we're live at the bowling alley. And then just get right back into the show. Like, I loved that. I like that. Theater of the mind, they call it. But just making stuff up. And people are calling, oh, what bowling alley? I'm like, I'm not sure. He didn't tell me. And then hang up. We got a bunch of those calls. Because why would you not believe me? Why would you not believe Chris, I should say, if he's telling you he's live at the bowling alley and you hear bowling going on in the background? That's the beauty of radio. That kind of lying I like. That kind of making stuff up I like. The part where I pretend that this guy, I understand why his technique at this is better than that. Like, come on. Who are we kidding? We're watching a football game. And the other thing, too, that I'm learning is Scott Wilson, like for this game, and he probably does it to do play-by-play, too. But as color guy, Scott Wilson would watch every single snap that Bowling Green has played so far this season. That's one thing in like week 3. It's another entirely in week 10. I'm not watching 9 or 8. I'm not watching 8 Bowling Green football games. I'm watching 2. I did watch them beat Toledo in an upset. And I took notes, and I know a lot of things about the team that I didn't know about them before watching that game. And I'm going to watch them tonight. I'm going to watch them lose to Kent State last week. So I will have seen their most recent game and also their upset MAC win. And I think that will give me enough about Bowling Green to sufficiently cover the other team in the game, because this is the thing that I've noticed. We're doing a UB Bulls broadcast. I don't know how many of you are going to care about more than 3 players on Bowling Green. We'll get it to you. I can tell you a couple of Petaway. Watch out for Petaway. He's going to be a problem. 5 of their 6 longest plays have been him in some form, whether it's a kick return, a pass from a receiver was a big play in the Toledo game. Like, there's stuff like that I've picked up just from watching one game. I'm going to watch one more, and then I'll have enough. I think back to the season where Miami lost in the championship game to Ohio State. I happened to attend Ohio State, Michigan that year. Both teams were undefeated. Shout out Jim Johnson. Thanks for that. Shout out Bradley Johnson, too. Go Bucks. But I attended that game, and I think it was 13-7. Buckeyes won. There was mass celebration. There was tear gas or something involved. I remember green gas in the air as people were climbing on goalposts. I didn't feel it was my place to go on the field at the Horseshoe. But the Buckeyes concluded an undefeated season, and Columbus went nuts, and we had to get out of there right after the game. But we weren't half an hour out of town. We're listening to stories of like cars on fire. They didn't treat it. They weren't very polite in Columbus that year with people's property in celebrating the win over Michigan. So I went to that game. The following week, I went to, and this is a game that is somewhat noteworthy. Syracuse hosted Miami the following week. So I go to the rivalry game that ends the season and sends undefeated at the time. It was under the BCS thing. Undefeated Ohio State goes to the Fiesta Bowl, and they're awaiting their opponent. And then I went and watched Miami beat the crap out of Syracuse with Willis McGahee, most notably, just lighting the Carrier Dome on fire. And then Miami ends up being the opponent in the Fiesta Bowl. So when the national championship game rolls around, I have attended the most recent game by both teams, just out of nowhere. I was going to the Ohio State game. They won. I was going to the Syracuse game. Miami won. Oh, look, they're in the championship game. The last time they played, I saw both of them. I never felt more prepared, just as a fan, to watch a championship game than I did from seeing those 2 games in person. That's all it takes. Watch the team a little bit. So I'm watching their big win. I'm watching their most recent loss. And that's what I'm going to have on BG. And here's the good news. If you're tuning in to our broadcast, whether it's on the Varsity Network, why can't I say the words? Varsity Network app, or on the Bet 1520 AM, you're probably tuned in to hear about UB. I know about UB. Scott knows about UB. We'll be fine on the UB part. Learn a little BG, and then I'm ready to go. So, I don't know. That's where my head is at right now. Can you tell for the first time in many years, there's a little nerves for me as I'm explaining away why it's going to be okay? I know it's going to be okay. But this is me talking myself into it and firing myself up for what should be a fun experience. Anyway, that said, looking forward to getting Paul Peck back in the booth, which we expect to have next week. But Paul's going to join me coming up in just a moment to discuss, why he missed last week's game and why he's missing this week's game, and also to talk a bit about last week's game and this week's game, because he's still paying attention. Even though he can't be a part of it because he's sick, he's still in. He sounds fine, too. You'll see. We'll check in with Paul Peck in just a moment. Jays beat the Dodgers last night 6-1 in a pretty not compelling game. Trey Savage was awesome again, 12 strikeouts. Blue Jays hit home runs. I wasn't even watching the game yet because I was getting ready. I think it was maybe I was recording the thing with Ben for the 200th episode Halloween Spectacular, or Spooktacular, whatever we're calling it. I'll figure that out between now and 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. It's got a lot of stuff to do, a lot of little things to get set. But I've already got more notes for this week's UB game than I've ever had for a UB game, so that's good. And I already talked to the coach this week and some of the players. I did some interviews. Like, I've been around. Saw summer practice. I'm prepared enough. Scott's so good, I barely have to be there. Thing is, Paul's good, and he's missing. I'm good at what I do, but we're definitely there's a hole. There's a hole in the broadcast, but we're just gonna keep plugging and survive. Bob Gaughan filled in last week, did a great job. He did fine. I'll do fine. So I was downstairs working on something for tomorrow's show, and the baseball game started. And by the time I went upstairs, first of all, I had a text from my dad that said, "Yes, I'm watching," and I had to write back and say, "I'm not watching yet." And he's like, "All right, well, never mind then." But I went upstairs, and it was already 2-0. Leadoff home run from Davis Schneider, that weirdo-looking dude, the mustache and the glasses. Looks like he's in disguise. You can't have a leadoff hitter in disguise in the World Series. We all see you. We all see you, man. Take off the fake nose and mustache and glasses. It's probably not a fake nose. Take off the fake glasses and mustache. It's probably not a fake mustache. It's probably not fake glasses either. But he's weirdo. He looks like a weirdo. And then Vlad Guerrero hits one 2 pitches later. So it's 2-0 immediately, and I guess that's what you would call a wire-to-wire victory for the Jays, who now lead the series 3-2. And it will come back to Toronto, Game 6 tomorrow night, and then, if necessary, Game 7. Both of those to be played at Rogers Center, formerly known as Skydome. The World Series championship will be awarded very close to home up there in Toronto, and it might go to the Jays in Game 6. It could go to either in Game 7. That's where we are. All right, I'm going to play a song, then we're going to get Paul Peck on the horn. Yeah. Rider Radio, episode 199 continues, although you may hear this as part of episode 200 as well, because it's just the way that things are going to work out. Episode 200 is a pre-recorded show because we're going to be on the way to Bowling Green right at the exact time. So it's a big, spectacular episode on Halloween, but it's pre-recorded. And I think it will include this, my conversation with Paul Peck, who has not been abducted, although we've been missing Paul Peck for 2 weeks. So here's the deal, Paul. I sent you a text. I just want to get the context out there right now. I sent a text to you yesterday and said, "Hey, would you like to come on the show tomorrow? Because last week, last minute, as the game started, we're like, sorry, no Paul, he's sick today." Paul does not miss games. Paul's done 300-plus consecutive games, and he missed a game, and we said you were sick, and that was fine. But now we're going to have to say that you're sick again, and also that you're coming back for the next game. So that's a tough story to tell, and just have people, they're like, "Hey, what are you talking about? Why is he sick, but we know he's not going to be sick?" Would you like to explain to the people where you've been, where the hell you've been, Paul?
Well, and I do appreciate that, people care, right, and notice those kinds of things, right? It's like, wait a minute, where's the guy that I normally tune into to hear these games?
Right.
And I understand your point. And, my first urge, Brad, in general with my personality is like, just keep your private things private. Like, the world doesn't need to know. We kind of live in a world now where everyone thinks everyone cares about them and everything about them. And that's just not who I am. But under the circumstances that you talked about, and the fact that I feel really great now, it is okay. I don't mind telling everybody a little bit what I went through pretty much just shy of 24 hours, a week ago as to where we sit right now. So, so here's the story, and it's kind of funny, like, you guys and a lot of other people, it gave me an incredible 60th birthday celebration earlier in the month, and it was awesome, right? And it came with the obligatory amount of drilling about becoming an old man and all that other stuff, and that's all well and good. And my life as a quote unquote old man, I couldn't even get out of a month of it without having an old man issue, right? And like, come on, man, like at least give me like a couple of months before stuff starts breaking down. So here's the story. My wife and I are working out as we do a couple times a week with at a gym with a trainer, and that was Thursday, and I was struggling. I wasn't feeling great. Now, I hadn't eaten any lunch that day and hadn't eaten much, so you're sort of justifying in your own mind. You're like, well, it's because I didn't eat and my energy is down or whatever. But like I was struggling more than I normally would to get through stuff that I normally get through. And then all kinds of other little things happen, like you get a little kind of burning in your chest and you're a little nauseous and a little pale and thanks to the world of modern technology, I can hit my Apple Watch and it can tell me what my heart rate is. And like, oh, that's not normal. It's a little low. And so as this thing goes on, I start getting progressively worse and start feeling worse. And that pain in the chest didn't really go away. So as the workout wraps up, I know my wife was concerned. I know our trainer, he's an awesome guy and we have a great relationship with, was a little concerned too. But again, we're guys and we're of that sort of rub dirt on it generation. I'm fine. I'll be fine. It's because I didn't eat. Like again, your inclination is to come up with reasons for it other than what the worst case scenario might be. So we're driving home, and I'm like, man, I just don't feel well. And my wife can kind of tell something's not right. And man, credit to her, because she didn't listen to me when I said, oh, let's just go home. We literally were on our way home. We literally drove right by our house. At that point, she goes, nope, I'm taking you to the Mac Center in this case, because it's about 10 minutes from our house here over by the stadium.
Yep.
And that was the best decision. I literally not embellishing by saying I might owe her my life for that. Get to the Mac Center, the chest pain start to get worse. Go through the whole process, and ultimately they find out that I have a blocked, almost completely blocked artery. And then it eventually leads to getting transferred to Mercy Hospital and having to go through an angioplasty and having stents inserted and stuff. And, it was a crazy 24 hours, but I was back out Saturday in time to listen to you guys call the game. And there, other than a couple of hours immediately in the aftermath of when this all started, I felt fine. I feel fine now. I feel normal. So, credit to medicine and credit to awesome doctors and nurses and credit to the people around me that helped me get through this. So the doctor said take it easy for a few weeks, right? No restrictions. One of the doctors like, just don't run a marathon. Like, yeah, okay, not a problem. But they said take it easy. So it just seemed to make sense to chill this week. I got some follow-up appointments with doctors next week. It just didn't make any sense to rush it. Let's be very honest with you, 10 hours on a bus to Toledo, Ohio. I could think of better things to do. And it gives you guys and you and Scott a full week to prepare for doing the game. But to your point, like I missed one game in 17 years, and that's because there was a historic blizzard in Buffalo. We couldn't get out to get to a game. You don't want to miss games. Like the job is like, that's the job. If there's a game, you're there. So there's part of me that is pulled by not being at the game, but the part of me that can handle that is knowing that it's in good hands with you and Scott.
Paul, do you want to do the funny parts next, or do you want to stick with you giving serious answers that can help human beings? We're doing both either way, but you tell me.
At this point, I think I'm kind of – well, here, I want to follow up with one little funny-ish thing, and then I'm going to let you run this. So, again, when I was alert and conscious and through the entire process, right, understanding everything that was going on around me. When they take you into essentially the operating room to go and do this procedure, they kind of strap you down to a table, and then they literally insert this wire through your wrist that travels up your arm and into your chest through a vein and gets to the point where the issue is, and then does what it needs to do. So I'm literally laying about a foot from like a 75-inch monitor that is showing all of this, which was really freaky.
Yep.
And I'm listening to the doctor essentially do play-by-play of what's going on. Right? I'm thinking, hey, maybe that could be like a side job down the road.
Yeah, that'd
right?
be good.
Yeah. So I'm kind of in and out a little bit, but I can hear him telling the nurse, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're adding this, we're adding that. Like, and on occasion I would sort of look up and try to figure out if I could see what was going on. But you're seeing inside your body is really weird.
Yeah, it's gross. I don't want to do that. I didn't like that when my wife was pregnant and I'm looking inside and there's like a little dude in there. I didn't like when she was having the baby and they were monitoring stuff, especially my middle son who tried to choke himself out by tying his umbilical cord in a knot, and we're watching as his heart rate's going down, and all of a sudden the room gets stormed by a dozen doctors and nurses like, we got to get that baby out of here. Like, holy crap, what are we doing? And it's like, but yeah, it's basically a telestrator. So yeah, I mean, there are some similarities there. All right, do you want the serious part now, or do you want my favorite? Do you want the funniest thing to me about what happened to you, or do you want to stay serious?
So funny.
Okay,
let's go funny.
All right, so let's say, I thought of this during pregame, and it was after we knew you were home. So our timeline is Thursday. You're on my show Thursday. Then Thursday night, you go to work out. All of this happens. Friday at some point, I get word Paul might not be able to do the game. He had a heart issue, so there's a 50-50 chance he can't do the game. Then an hour later, it's like, yeah, he's not doing the game. He's having surgery. And then by the time we're doing pregame, we're aware that you're home. You've already checked in with all of us. We're texting. It's like normal, except you're not there. It's as if you've got COVID or something. You're just
right.
you can't make it. I missed a game for COVID. You guys were in Maryland. I just sat in my house. It was kind of like I was there. So there was that. But I thought about the fact, now this is behind the scenes radio stuff. Paul, on a weekly basis, on like Tuesday or Wednesday, goes out to the stadium for practice. And at the end of practice, he does an interview with an offensive player and a defensive player, and a one-on-one interview with Pete Lembo. And then we record those, and those are used in the pregame show. This is a little behind the curtains, but when I say, let's go to the locker room, check in with Paul, Peck, and Pete Lembo, it's on tape. You're right next to me, and we just play a tape. But it sounds like you are, it sounds fine. It's radio. That's the part of I was talking earlier about how you can lie on radio in certain ways that just make it sound better, and that's one of them. We just say, let's go to Paul Peck. We don't say, let's go to a tape of Paul Peck. So because we had, the pregame show is all set up with you interviewing multiple players and you interviewing Pete Lembo, I said to John Fuller, I could not stop laughing at this, Paul, and I apologize. It's at your expense. But again, it's once we knew you were fine that I was thinking this. Had Kim, your wife, not been intelligent enough to take you to the MAC, and then eventually you go and you get I even know what it's called. It's a radial cardiac cath. You didn't think I knew that, but I did.
I didn't.
There's a whole story about that in the Malcolm Gladwell book, how Buffalo was kind of early on in adopting this particular version of the cardiac cath because of influence from Toronto, and how there's a whole story about it that I was just reading anyway, so that's why I know the name. But what I was thinking was, had she not taken you and you were just out, like we found out, instead of finding out on Friday that you couldn't make the game, we found out on Friday there's no more Paul Peck. If that had happened, here's what the pregame show would have sounded like. First segment, me with John Fuller, right? It's every game we always start out, it's full of it. We call it full of it sometimes because his name starts with full. So it would be me and John Fuller talking about your accomplishments and mourning the loss of Paul Peck. That would be the first segment. It'd be about 6 minutes long. Because then we got to get out because we got to get to the Pete Lembo thing. So what would have happened was it would have been me and John memorializing you. And then the second segment would have been, we're back. You be getting set for another conference game here against the Akron Zips. Let's head down to the locker room. It's the Late Paul Peck with Pete Lembo, presented by Paul Hutchings of Stroy Law League. And then we would have just gone out, because what was I going to do? I wasn't going to get another interview with Pete. I wasn't going to take all the questions that you asked him out.
On in the afterlife.
You would have had to.
Kind of cool.
We would have announced your death, and then you would have done 3 interviews on the pregame show, and then we would have just done the game. And that's the way it would have. And I couldn't stop laughing about let's go down to the late Paul Peck. It was in my head. That's funny. So that's my favorite thing about it. All right, that's the funny part. The real thing is I want to know, because honestly, this can help people. I want to know two things. One, how did you feel prior to this? Like the days or the weeks or the day leading up to it? Was there any indication that there was anything wrong? That's number one. And number two, can you describe the chest pain? I think, often, whatever, like you said, we're tough guys. I eat too much pizza and I get like heartburn. I'm like, am I dying or did I just have an extra slice of pizza? Like that kind of stuff.
And that's the difficult part of all this, right? And I've talked to a lot of people since this all happened, and and you do a little research and you do a little reading, and like the indications of a heart issue are a combination of stuff that happens to you all the time. Right. So like that is why sometimes it's hard to, or you're inclined to go, no, fine. So to your first question, I felt fine all week. I don't recall there being anything that, made me think any differently leading up to the week. After, a particularly hard workout or a heavy like cardio part of a workout, I'd get a little like burning in my chest and then it would go away.
Because you're 60.
Well, right. And it was a hard workout, right? Like, so that, so now you look back on that and you go, well, that was probably an indication of your heart wasn't operating at peak efficiency, right? So, but again, that happens. Indigestion happens. Being winded kind of happens, right? The difference was the things that I mentioned to you before, like I had to get off the treadmill at one point, because at one point in our sort of circuit workout, you do like 5 minutes on a treadmill, and this was towards the end of the workout, and I was only like a minute and a half into it, and I'm like, I had to get off. Wait a minute, that's not right. The being dizzy, being nauseous, my wife noticing how pale I was, the heart rate thing, like all of that was like, okay, this isn't just normal stuff. And then when the chest pain starts to happen, kind of radiating across your chest, and a lot of times they'll tell you you'll feel pain in your left arm when you're having like a heart issue. And in my case, it was a little bit of left arm, but it was more moving like from the left to the right across the chest, which one of the doctors ultimately said like, oh, that's textbook, right? So those kinds of things all together. And I'll take a step back on all of this for you, Brad. As I have some family history, my dad had suffered a heart attack in his 50s, and thank God lived another 30 plus years, right? So, but there's some family history there. There's a little family genetic history of high cholesterol and things like that. So all of those things are sort of some of those warning signs that you should keep an eye on this. But I think the one thing that I'm looking to still get answered, and again, to the people that are listening, and I know it's a lot of your friends and a lot of your buddies, so they're in that age group now where this kind of stuff has to be paid attention to more, right? If you have a family history, you got to turn up the attention meter. And whether that's more constant conversations with your doctors, whether that's a point where there are enough indicators where hey, maybe I should go see a cardiologist even though I'm not having any issues. And and one of the things that resonates with me from one of the doctors was, one of the ways they can determine whether you have a blockage is like a stress test, right? Where they put you on the treadmill and they push you really hard, they monitor everything, and they kind of see. And the doctor kind of looked at me, he goes, your workout was your stress test, and guess what? You failed it. I'm like, well, okay.
Thanks,
I guess that was true.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that surprised me is how long have I had this ticking time bomb of a blocked artery in my chest that I maybe should have dealt with this 10 years ago. That's one of the questions I want to try to get answered from some of the doctors. How long was this an issue? And again, and you could flip it around, and I'm sure I will get this response from some people is it's, again, I joke with you that Jesus, I just turned 60 and already crap is falling apart, right? But there's probably some advantage to having it happen at 60 while I'm relatively healthy.
Right.
And now I have this heart that's operating at a much higher efficiency, but I could overcome this particular moment because I'm not in my 70s where other things are not working as well. So maybe there's a blessing in having it happen when it did. So again, I can't encourage anybody that's listening enough. And again, I think it sounds like family history, it has a big part of this, right?
Sure.
So if there's any family history of anybody, generally your parents, of having some heart issues at some point in your life, you are probably more predisposed to have it. And I think the other question that I'm trying to get answered, and I don't know that anybody will ever give me an answer, was this going to happen to me no matter what? Like, unless I went full vegetarian and ate the world's healthiest diet, which I think that is not me in any way.
No, pizza's not involved in the world's healthiest diet.
Correct.
Jersey
was this
boy.
going to happen to me no matter what? And I'll give you a sports analogy that popped into my head. Like Tommy John surgery, right? If you're a pitcher, at some point you're going to have it. You're going to blow up that elbow ligaments, right? If you are if you're on the track to be a major league pitcher.
Yeah.
And in some ways you almost want it to happen because once you have the surgery, you most times come back better than you were before. So I wonder if that analogy applies in any way here, because now I'm being told it's like, man, now your heart is working better than it has in a long time.
It's like having chicken pox when you're a kid, so you don't wind up with shingles when you're older. Same type of situation. All right, Paul, I'm having fun alternating between the fun questions and the serious questions. Can I go back to a fun one again?
Go.
How does this affect Beat the Champ, your bowling show on television?
It doesn't.
Okay.
We just taped one last Sunday. We don't have another one until later in November, so it worked out great. That was not an issue. So.
Okay.
So yeah, that's of the again, and again, to drift back into the serious part of it, stress is part of all of this, right? They always say stress is a big impact on your health, on your heart rate, and whatever. And this is a time of year, particularly for me, when you get the crossovers with basketball and football and things like that, where I'm always going in a lot of different directions. Before all this happened, I was scheduled to do 9 different events in the next 20 days, which is kind of a lot for us, right?
Yeah.
So I tend to get a little worked up this time of year and just I got to be prepared for this, I got to be prepared for that, and things like that. So I'm sure that had a little bit to do with it, but you're a product of the schedule sometimes, and that's what drives all of us. But maybe that had a little bit to do with it as well too. So. And Beat the Champ was kind of, even though it didn't necessarily fall in that time frame, like I'm going, I'm going in a lot of directions right now. And maybe one of my lessons is I have to make sure I fight that urge to want to work and be involved in a lot of stuff and say, you know what, maybe there's a few things you can let other people handle.
Well, you just a few days earlier, when calling the UMass game, the flagship cup, said that you thought it should be sponsored by defibrillator paddles. Like that was I'm not kidding. That was a joke that you made.
Know.
This and honestly, and this is a real subject. Like my dad texted me at some point during one of these games, because it was 5 consecutive games that came down to the final minute for the Bulls, and this last one basically did too. I mean, they didn't quite get there, but had the Bulls come through, it would have been the 6th in a row that was exactly like that, where either you won it or lost it in the last minute. My dad texted me at some point during one of the games and said, "How do you deal with this stress?" And I said, "I'm not stressed at all. I'm just watching a football game." I don't want to say it doesn't matter to me, but it has no impact on my life. It's, am I going to Detroit? Do I get to go on a cool trip? I don't know. We'll see. Like it doesn't really matter to me, but I watch the toll it takes on you. You walk out of a game like that, and you are stressed beyond belief. And I actually said that. Like, the other guys take it harder than I do. I'm just watching a football game. I'm all right.
Because every play can be the difference in the game, literally right down to the last play. And when you play on the razor's edge like that, again, my job to make sure people understand the significance of what the next play could be. Probably ups my stress level a little bit. I don't want to make that connection. Again, it's football, right? But I've been doing this a long time. I've never been through a stretch where it was 5 straight games that were decided in the last minute, where where like you just don't even get a chance to breathe as a play-by-play guy. There's no throwaway plays. Like, I mean, literally 130 to 140 plays in a typical football game. Like the last 40 of them could all determine the game.
Yeah.
So, I don't want to get crazy, but has this been a little more of a stressful football season? Absolutely.
Well, I'm not going to blame football, but I am going to say you taking a couple weeks off. Like, it's not like you dig ditches. The thing you're taking off from is these football games that can be very stressful. So, like, you know what? I'm going to sit out for 2 of them, and then I'll be back, and you get an extra, like, week and a half here because we go to the midweek thing. So you'll be rested and ready and totally good to go come the Central game. But when you're told, relieve yourself of stress, one of the things you actually had to do was say, no Maction for a couple weeks. Maction is not what we're looking for. All right, I'm having fun bouncing back and forth between the real questions and the fun ones. You ready for another fun one?
Go.
How long have you had a personal trainer?
About 2 years now.
Really?
And it's not a personal trainer. We work out with a trainer in a kind of group class.
Okay.
So it's not one guy.
It's pretty personal.
Like
it's still pretty personal.
At me, but it's actually a really good setup. I've never worked out great when I didn't have someone sort of telling me what to do or guiding me. Like I can't just it never worked out for me to walk into like a Planet Fitness and just roam around and pick a machine.
No, I have no idea what I'm doing.
So when we walk into this class, there is a predetermined circuit of 3 different sets of exercises, and they're different every day. And that's what he does. And then he's always kind of walking around and he's figuring out which weights you should be using. And he's walking around. He's saying, hey, bend your knees more here or whatever. So it's really been great. Shout out to Charlie Schmidt and SPT training out here in Hamburg. It's been great. I've done it for 2 years now. And, again, only 2 days a week. I'm not killing myself, but I knew I needed to do something a couple of years ago to get myself going, particularly as I was getting older. And, I'd like to think that maybe being in better shape than I was 2 years ago helped me make it through this thing easier, even if it was actually the reason why.
Or working out caused it, and you had to go through all this. But you're better in the long run, like we said, getting it, solving it while it was solvable, rather than while it was unsolvable and fatal. So that's it's great to know. All right, this is back to. I'm going off of Paul's heart news and going into football. I know it has to kill you that you watched a game. Now, granted, it was a loss, so not that bad. But getting ready for a game this week, I know, like, you texted that you talked to Todd Walker, the BG play-by-play guy. You don't even have to call the game, Paul. You didn't have to call Todd Walker.
Well, he called me.
Okay, all right. Well, that makes more sense, I guess.
He called me, and I told him, like, hey, I'm not doing the game. If you don't want to do an interview for your podcast with me, I'll get in touch with Scott.
Right.
And he's like, no. He goes, I after I kind of told him what happened, because I know what you're talking about, and he'll probably connect with Scott for the pregame show once you guys get to Dwight Perry Stadium on Saturday. But again, that's part of sort of staying, not getting crazy bored this week, was trying to stay a little bit engaged, not to my normal level of preparation to be ready to call a game, but just trying to stay engaged and know where things are at. I watched Pete Lembo's press conference the other day, and just to hear what he had to say, and I'm excited to listen to you guys and watch the game on Saturday. So it's a very weird feeling, even watching and listening to you guys Saturday. It's a very weird feeling that, like, wait, hey, that I'm supposed to be there,
yeah,
right? Like, that's my game. Again, under the circumstances, I'd be stupid to not understand why I'm not there, but it was weird, I mean, it's these things are your babies a little bit, and for as long as I've been doing it, as much as I enjoy doing it, it was very weird to hear someone else like calling your game.
Well, if you watch the Bills play and they're missing 1 or 2 of their starters, that's weird. We only have 3 starters. I mean, and Bob too, but like, we have a very small team. So when someone is missing from the team, it is very noticeable. So the broadcast is not the same without you. It wasn't last week. It certainly won't be this week with me filling in instead of Bob.
I can't wait for this, by the way. I mean, there's two. Scott did an amazing job, and so did Bob, being thrown into it at the last minute. That is not easy to all of a sudden, hey, by the way, I know you haven't done play-by-play in X amount of years, but we need you to do it this week. And it's not that Scott doesn't know the teams and he doesn't know the game, but it's a different skill set than what he's used to. I thought he did an amazing job. So did Bob. But again, I know you and I know who you are and how you operate, and I'm like, this is going to be really fun to listen to.
I hope so.
Because you are going to put a spin on doing color that no one has ever spun before.
I think that's right by accident because I don't know how to do it the right way. So I'm just going to do it my way and hope that it works.
There is no right way.
Cross my fingers and hope you get back ASAP, which you're going to. You'll be back for the Central Michigan game. Do you have any advice for me? That's the last thing I want to ask. Any advice?
The standard advice whenever I work with a color guy, I always tell them that my job as the play-by-play guy is the what, and your job is the why. And to some degree, that I think that always holds. Like, well, why are they winning? Why are they losing? Why are they struggling to throw the ball when they've been great at throwing the ball all season long? Why is the defense struggling, or why are they shutting people down? So I think if you always go into it thinking about the why, because again, you'll have done your research and you'll sort of know what Bowling Green is good at, what they might struggle at. You certainly know what the Bulls can do in generally. So if you kind of take the why aspect of it, that's probably a good piece of advice. Again, you know the players, you know the guys that are performing well, and then maybe the only part of doing color for football is you have to fight the urge to watch the ball, because normally you watch the ball, but a good color guy sometimes tries not to watch the ball, or they try to watch the coverage or the secondary, or you try to watch almost like your eyes become the all 22. So sometimes you might see something there that will be a really good addition to what Scott is calling as a play. Boy, this guy was open, or he was open because that guy fell down, or two guys went to go cover Victor Snow and left Nick McMillan open. Like those are some of the things that you can embellish upon what Scott is talking about as a color guy. But again, I just think bring a big perspective to things, right? Bring a 10,000 foot view into how the game is going, or if someone is having a great game or someone is struggling, well, then why is that happening? So
and in my role that I usually have, which is kind of the third microphone, I'm there to tell you that it's brought to you by Coca-Cola, but also to notice stuff that you guys don't see. So you're watching the ball and calling the game. Scott's watching something, and I'm picking something else out. I'm very proud of myself on a play. This sounds silly, but any play where I'm watching and excited about something, either positive or negative for the Bulls, and then there's a sack, but I didn't see it because I wasn't looking at that. Like, I was watching what was happening down the field, and then you say, "Oh, and he sacked." I'm proud of myself that I didn't get sucked into the football. So I've been training myself for like 15 years to do this. I just hope I have enough to say. And the other thing too is recognizing I don't know the player numbers inside and out the way that you do, just because I don't have to. So I made a chart, like you guys do. I'm just like a regular color guy. And I'm looking up to make sure I'm getting the right numbers. Like, of course I know the receivers, but like the O-line, I don't know the numbers of the O-line. I don't know the numbers of the defensive backs necessarily, at least not like top of mind where I see the number and know the name. Like, I know McNair is 8, but what else is going on in the defensive backfield number-wise? So that's the kind of stuff I'm kind of working on between now and
but that's why I have that big chart sitting in front of me, because I don't have to know all that stuff either. That's why you put all that work in during the week, and you walk in there with that spotting chart, because it's impossible to try to memorize all that stuff. And let's be honest, how often are you going to talk about the offensive line?
Never.
Or the left guard?
When they're hurt.
On the occasion that you might see, again, that might be something fun every once in a while. Watch the offensive line, and you may notice, Trevor Brock just pancaking a guy that created the time to complete a pass, and that's kind of a fun little piece of color commentary that you can add into, because more than likely Scott is not going to see that.
Right.
So every once in a while, pick a different thing to kind of watch, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But there's no real hard and fast rules to this. It's just sort of be the second set of eyes and sort of add on to whatever the play-by-play guy is saying. And again, with your inimitable style, it will be enjoyable to listen to.
Well, thank you for the advice. Thank you for the compliment. I am thinking along those lines. Just watch stuff he's not watching and then say something about it. And generally, I feel like my approach is he's in charge of making it a football game. I'm in charge of making it a show. So, like, turn the broadcast into something that people can appreciate. That's my goal. I don't know if I'm going to be any good at it, but that's what I'm going to try, and we'll see. And I just hope I'm not bad enough that they don't let me do my other job anymore. Like, I fully expect I'll do this once. I'll be one and done as a color guy. There's no place for me to do it anyway. You're the play-by-play guy. Scott's the color guy. You're both better than I am in those roles. I'm good in my role. I just want my seat back, but I'm absolutely willing to jump in and give it a shot. And if it sucks, it sucks. Oh, well, we'll just burn the tape. And and we're on to Central Michigan. That's fine.
You'll be fine. You're a professional broadcaster, which means you're going to figure this out. However you think, or someone tells you it was the quality of the color commentary is an innocuous thing anyway. It's going to be a professional, well done, entertaining broadcast.
It'll be fine. All right. I'm glad you're fine. I'm glad we'll see you again next week. And thank you for taking the time. I think it was not just cool and interesting, but also important to get what you did out there, because honestly, your first thought when I reached out, like, yeah, I think I might be able to help some people to just notice things and take care of them. Don't let it slide. Go to the hospital. You might be, you might save your life by going, this doesn't feel right. And we're glad that you and Kim helped save yours. So we're happy to have you around and glad to have you check in.
Thank you, Brad. And again, can't thank my wife enough for being the voice of reason to say, you know what, something's not right here, and I'm not taking a chance. And again, that's probably my best advice to anybody is if any of these things start happening and they start stacking upon each other, and you're like, it's just indigestion or whatever, right? But if it won't go away and it starts to get worse and it keeps happening, then somewhere along the line you got to say, well, maybe it's not that. I wonder if it could be something worse, and then that's where you get your doctors involved in things, and maybe they find something and you get it before it ever gets worse. So
all right.
That's my best advice.
All right, Paul, the last thing I want to tell you before I let you go is the next song that I play was picked completely at random. It's just because you like Billy Joel. It has nothing to do with anything at all.
The heart attack song?
No.
Heart attack,
No. What song is that? I don't even know what that
Pressure.
one.
Isn't it, right?
Oh, I could play Pressure. No, don't play Pressure. The one you're talking about is Movin Out. It's Anthony's song. It's track 1 on The Stranger.
That's right. Yeah.
I would never play the song that says heart attack, ack. You ought to know by now, right after talking to you about your heart attack, ack. I would never do that, Paul. You know me better than that.
Thank you, Brad.
All right.
Thank you.
I would never. Thanks, Paul. All right. There's Paul Peck. Let's say goodbye to Paul Peck, and then let's play a song. I would never do that. I would do that once. I would do it one time. Thank you to Paul Peck. Oh, that's the wrong screen. Hold on, let's switch that one. He's not on anymore. That one. That one. There we go. Thanks to Paul Peck for joining us in the previous segment. Paul's missed the last UB game, and he's going to miss this weekend's UB game because he suffered I'm going to call it a minor heart attack, a mild heart attack. We didn't get the official term, but he had some chest pains and some dizziness and just didn't feel right, and went to get checked out, and they're like, yeah, you have 90% blockage in one of your arteries. So they fixed him, and he was home he went in on Thursday, surgery Friday, home Saturday in time for the UB game. He could have come and worked it, could have been there if he was a real team player. He would have made the trip from from Hamburg up to Amherst. I'm just kidding. No, he needed some rest, so we did the game without him, and then we knew right away afterward we're doing one more game without him, and then he'll be back. So that's what puts me in the the Scott Wilson chair and put Scott in the Paul chair. And I'm still Brad, too. So it's just there's a lot going on this weekend. A lot more prep for doing 2 jobs at a UB game than for one. But I like it. It's fun. I don't know how good I'll be, but it's a one and done. This isn't an audition in any way. It's just like, yeah, go do the game. So I'm going to do the game the best I can. Scott will be great. He's super easy to work with. Whenever I talk about football, it's usually with Scott anyway. It's also usually with Paul, and he won't be there, but we'll do what we can. And happy to have Paul on to tell his story, because the way it is, I may have said this on the air with him, but I'll just repeat it again. You know, we've known what was going on since last Friday. And then we did a game, and we said, Paul's sick, and moved on, because we're not going to dwell on it. But by the time we were doing the game, Paul was already had surgery, was already home, and felt good. He's texting us during the game. There was even a moment where he texted, I wrote back, Paul, I'm no doctor, but turn off the TV. Like he's trying to avoid stress, and he's watching another MAC game coming down the wire. The Bulls didn't win that one, possibly because Paul wasn't there. The Bulls are 3-0 in conference when Paul calls the game, and 0-1 in conference when Scott calls the game. Now, Scott did a good job, and I'm not laying the loss on him. But the reality is he did not come through in the clutch with a game-winning score. Scott did not. Paul always does. So there's that. We gotta contend with that. I'm just kidding. It has nothing to do with him. But we needed to explain this because, hey, he's out sick is one thing. But then we're going to be on the air for 5 hours again on Saturday without our fearless leader. We need to I wanted the ability to at least acknowledge what's going on rather than just, yeah, he's sick, but he'll be back. And it's like, what do you mean sick? What kind of sick keeps you out of 2 games, but you know that you'll be back a week and a half later? Like, what is that? So I wanted to address it, and Paul wanted to too. And honestly, he said he wasn't initially comfortable with doing it. And his wife's like, no, you do it. Do it so that the next guy who's driving somewhere with his wife and the wife wants to go to some sort of urgent care, you don't tell her no. Like, just go. You know, we don't know how serious it could have gotten. Maybe it would have just passed. But it was coming. It was coming again to get him. And because he listened to his wife, he's all better. And he'll be doing the game next week. Had he not, who knows? Who knows what would have happened? So he also listened to her when she said, yeah, go on the show and talk about it. So he did, and that was awesome, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much for that, Paul. I apologize for the music. It was not me. It was one of the producers that thought it would be funny once we talked to you and everything was okay to play, as you pointed out, the Heart Attack, song, which I thought was in poor taste, but I have to listen to the producers sometimes here at Writer Radio. That was one thing. I thought it was almost cruel and unusual to then follow up Movin' Out by Billy Joel with the Beastie Boys song called Heart Attack Man. I thought that was in poor taste. Someone will be reprimanded. Someone will receive a very sternly written email about that decision, because that can't go on here. We're above that at Writer Radio. We don't do stuff like that. And then on top of that, to finish off the little set of music with Nearly Lost You by Screaming Trees, I thought was uncalled for. And again, I will take the appropriate actions. As the person in charge of this, we can't have decisions like that being made on this show. They're in poor taste. And I don't abide by that. It's episode 199. I think I know who I am. I think I know, and we know what this show is at this point. And there's no room in it to have Paul on to talk about his heart attack and then follow it up with Heart Attack, and then Heart Attack Man, and then Nearly Lost You. So I didn't want that to go unacknowledged. Someone will be disciplined for the decision to play those 3 songs consecutively after speaking with Paul Peck about his heart attack and his imminent return. Someone's getting fired. It's all right. It'll thin out the payroll here at Writer Radio. Make us leaner and meaner, more efficient, stronger, better. That way we can afford World Series tickets. Now, I can't go, even if I wanted to go, to either game. It's not going to work because I'm gone tomorrow. Leave at 10 a.m. I'll be in Ohio while the World Series is happening here, whatever, kind of in Western New York, Northern New York, a.k.a. Canada, a.k.a. Toronto. Game 6 is here, but a debate, a dilemma popped up in my head. If I had the money and the time, if I'm going to be around, I couldn't even go to Game 7 if I wanted to. I couldn't feasibly do that. We've got a noon kickoff. We've got like a 4.5-hour drive. Game plus drive means the game in Toronto is underway by the time we're even back here in Western New York. So that's not on the table. But if I was available both Friday night and Saturday night to go to a game and I could afford one game, I've been thinking about which one I would go to. Dependent upon, like, let's assume I'm a Blue Jays fan, all right? I live close to Toronto, sort of. The AAA affiliate is here in Buffalo. A bunch of the guys that are playing, including the pitcher who struck out 12 last night, he was playing for the Bisons like a month and a half ago. Trey Savage, who's been awesome in the playoffs. He's made 5 playoff starts now, and he's been good. I didn't even like the beginning of the game. They were talking about how he didn't have it the first time he pitched in this series, and I thought he did. I was impressed. I mean, it didn't go perfectly, but I thought he was fine. I thought he was good. I was impressed, and I was excited to see him pitch again last night, and he was awesome again last night. But I've been thinking about if I could afford to go to one game, and I'm a Blue Jays fan, which one would I go to? Because Game 6, they've got a chance to win it. Had the Dodgers won last night, it's very simple. I'm buying a ticket for Game 7. Because Game 6, the best we can do is extend the series. The worst is it ends. I don't need to go to that. I don't need to spend $1,000 or $10,000 or $20,000 for a ticket to go to a game that is not, there's no chance there's like the complete happy ending of a trophy and champagne and confetti and we are the champions and all that stuff. T-shirts, championship T-shirts, podium announcements, chanting, rioting in the streets. Will they riot in Toronto? They're too pleasant, I think, to riot in Toronto. So had the Dodgers won, no-brainer, Game 7 is the one I would buy. Right in front of me, I've got an offer. I can go to one game or the other. With the Blue Jays winning, it becomes a little less clear. And I think what I'm looking at is the pitching matchup. And I think I'm almost, and this is bad, but I'm almost writing off Game 6 as a Dodgers victory because of this freak that is Yamamoto. Kevin Gossman's fine. That's the starter for the Jays. But I think the assumption is we're in trouble tonight when Yamamoto comes out. This guy has been unbelievable as Ohtani has been. It does seem like this is not a foreigners are aliens joke, but it seems like 2 alien species have been dropped in to the Dodgers organization. One of them is a ridiculous pitcher. The other's a ridiculous pitcher and also can go for 3 home runs on any given night in Ohtani. I think I would write this one off. If I'm able to go to one or the other of Game 6 or Game 7 as a Blue Jays fan, I think I would choose Game 7. There's a chance you miss out. And I don't know that anybody's being presented with this hypothetical situation, but these are the kinds of things that I think about. I'd go to 7 over 6. I like our chances, if I'm a Jays fan, in 7 more than I like 6. In particular because of Yamamoto. Also, I think the Dodgers are a better team than they've showed so far. Than they've showed. I think the Dodgers are better than they've looked. And I don't know, this feels like a 7-game series to me. So that's the ticket I'd buy. I'm not buying either. Right now, general admission for Game 6, the cheapest available, just on StubHub. I'm sure you can go elsewhere and maybe find a better deal. But $1,462 for general admission. Standing room only. You get a clear view. But yeah, $1,462 to not have a seat. Cheapest non-seat, or cheapest seat that I see is, it's about the same. I don't know where the standing room is, but I could get section 510. That just sounds terrible. Especially the picture is like a drone photo from above the seats. So it's like, it looks really bad. It looks like you're in the CN Tower to watch this game for $1,672. Or if you want to sit in row 3 of section 32, which is, those are nice seats right behind third base. That'll run you a cool $9,395 per ticket. That is game 6. I should have written that down. All right, let's call it $1,500. $1,462 for GA is the lowest price right now for game 6. Now I want to check game 7. Would it be shocking if it's double? See tickets. Oh, wait, it would be shocking if it's double because you don't know if it's going to happen. So if you shell out the money for the ticket, I don't know how that works. Do you just get it back if the game is canceled? I know you would get it back if you bought it through the team. How does this work? Maybe there's a very simple solution to this, and this is just a problem that's never come up in my head. But let's say I give somebody $1,662 for a pair of tickets for Game 7, and then Game 7, I'm sorry, $1,662 for a ticket for Game 7. Let's just say I buy one ticket. What happens when that game doesn't happen? Obviously, the face value of the ticket is refundable, but I just paid how much extra to maybe go to a game? And then if I buy 2 tickets, it's double. I don't know how that works. So maybe the Game 7, you don't buy a Game 7 ticket until you know that there's Game 7. But then you're taking a massive risk because I would imagine the prices double or triple immediately. And now your $1,600 ticket is, $2,800 or $3,400 or something crazy. Ooh, I don't know how to navigate that. That's an interesting twist to all of it. Because if you're paying crazy prices, you're not getting that back if the game is canceled. Are you? Maybe you do. Maybe the transaction just goes away. Does anyone know? If you know and want to put it in the chat, that'd be cool. Because I'm very curious about this. What happens? Can I just type that into AI? I'm going to try. I'll just try the Google AI mode and see if it teaches me anything. All right, I'm going to use the microphone, so hopefully it'll just hear me. What happens if I spend a ton of money on Game 7 tickets for the World Series on StubHub, and then the game is not played because it ends in 6? It's thinking. All right, here we go. If the World Series ends in 6 games and you purchase tickets for Game 7 on StubHub, you will receive a full cash refund of your purchase price. The game is considered a contingent event, and StubHub's policy guarantees a refund if the event does not take place. Okay, that makes sense. Specific details. You get a refund for the full amount, including service fees. The refund is automatic. You don't have to contact StubHub. Refund goes to your original payment method. You may receive StubHub credit first. StubHub's policy states that you will initially receive a credit in your StubHub wallet. You must then request a cash refund from your wallet to have the money returned to your original payment method. All right. Sounds like they've got it figured out. Of course they do. You couldn't do this. You couldn't list tickets for $5,000 and $10,000 for a game that might not exist without any plan. All right. So we solved that. We learned something new there. What else do I have written down to talk about today? Jim Irsay. All right, let's do that one. Jim Irsay, former owner of the Colts. Where did it go? Oh, come on. I've got the story somewhere. Sources, not that, not that, not that. Okay. Majority of Jim Irsay memorabilia. Majority of Jim Irsay memorabilia collection going up for auction. The former Colts owner, widely known for his memorabilia collection. I've heard a lot about guitars. Like he's big into rock music, and I don't know exactly which pieces he owns, but he has a memorabilia collection that he once said he was offered more than $1 billion for. It's all going up for auction. The auction will be run by Christie's starting in March, with the Irsay family planning to keep some select items and providing a portion of proceeds to charity. The family said this decision was not made lightly, but with deep reflection and love for the legacy he built. Our dad was a passionate collector, driven not by possession, but by a profound appreciation for the beauty, history, and cultural resonance of the items he curated. From iconic instruments to handwritten lyrics by legends to rare historical artifacts and documents, each piece in the collection tells a story, and he was always so excited to share those stories with the world. All right, so here's a little insight as to what he's got. Largely known for its vast selection of musical instruments, including ones owned by members of the Beatles, Jimi Hendrix, Prince, Kurt Cobain, and Eric Clapton. The collection has also contained such items as Muhammad Ali's Rumble in the Jungle Championship belt, the saddle used for Secretariat's Triple Crown run, and a more than 200-year-old copy of the Declaration of Independence. All right, so it's pretty good stuff. Like, I've got a couple Gretzky rookie cards, one of which was ungradable due to size, even though I got it out of the package PSA in 1979 or 1980. I was like 5 years old. And I got hockey cards in a package, and I saved the Gretzky one because even at that age, I was like, that guy's good. I'm going to keep this. And it's preserved. I have 2 Gretzky rookies, both of which I got out of cards, or got out of packs. I never bought them. I never traded for them. I just acquired them by purchasing packages of Topps hockey cards. And then when I sent them in to get graded, the one that was kind of beat up got a crap grade, and the one that was in good shape came back ungradable due to size, as if I had trimmed it to make the corners sharper or something. I lost some faith in PSA that day. You send it away to be authenticated. You know that it's authentic, and they're like, nah, you're committing a crime. You're a fraud. I'm not a fraud. I'm not a fraud. I have a hockey card. I sent it to you to tell me what it's worth, and then you told me it's not worth anything, even though it is. It has to be. It's real. Oh, it's not the perfect size. I don't care. It's real. It came from the pack. I guess there is some talk. You could send it back in and have it authenticated without being graded. Ungradable, but it is real. I'm not doing that. I don't trust these people anymore. Although I did just uncover a whole bunch of new hockey cards that I'm going through and might have graded. So maybe I'll send the Gretzky back in. But the bottom line is, that's the best thing I have in my memorabilia collection. This dude's got a 200-year-old copy of the Declaration of Independence. Now, a copy of the Declaration of Independence is weird. Like, what does that mean? Is it on parchment? Does it roll out? All right, Christie's, the auction house, said the collection includes extraordinary sports and movie memorabilia, U.S. presidential artifacts, extremely rare books, documents, and manuscripts with a focus on American history, the beatnik movement, and much more. The collection, a selection of the collection has been used as part of a series of traveling exhibitions and concerts in recent used as part of a series of traveling exhibitions and concerts in recent years, including a one-year run at Indiana University that ended in September. Irsay said in 2023 that he thought the collection would, quote, always be together, unquote, but noted it ultimately wouldn't be up to him. He said, look, it's not mine. I always say you never see a hearse pulling a U-Haul. He always says that. He said that a lot, I guess. When all you're thinking about is being rich and old, I guess that makes sense. Says, I mean, I don't own anything. Someone else is going to own it. Someone else is going to be in here. He died in May at the age of 65. His 3 daughters have since taken ownership of the team. The team is 7-1 behind Daniel Jones and running back Jonathan Taylor. All right, the reason I wanted to talk about this story, one, the collection sounds incredible, and it would be super cool if they just opened up a museum that had just that. I like the eclectic nature of it. It's kind of like my show. There's a lot of sports. I like sports. But there's a lot of music because I like music. And then there's a lot of movies because I like movies. And then there's some history stuff because I like history. I'm interested in all of it. I'm super impressed with the collection. But the point I want to make is clean out your garage and your basement because your kids don't want to deal with your stuff. No matter what you collected, your kids don't want it. They don't. So I'm in the process now of like sifting through. I don't need this stuff. The vast majority of stuff that I own, I do not need. I have asked for a dumpster for my birthday. I'm not going to get it. My wife doesn't believe in this. But my birthday's coming up a week from now, just about. Yeah, a week from tomorrow. And I asked for she's not going to get me a dumpster, but that's what I asked for. Give me a dumpster for a weekend so I can just get rid of half of the stuff in our house. I would also need her to leave so I could get rid of half of our stuff. I wouldn't get rid of any of her stuff. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. I'd get rid of most of mine, half of what we own collectively, and then none of hers. That's what I would do with a dumpster. But I will settle for, I don't know, just a nice chair to sit in when I watch baseball games. That'd be fine, too. We got my wife. Was it her birthday? Yeah, her birthday. She's short and has trouble very often sitting in like a regular lawn chair is the wrong word. Lawn chair, I picture the folding things at Grandma's house in 1984. Not that. Like the kind that either goes in a bag. They've gotten very high tech. They have rocking chairs now. The one I got for her is a director's chair because she's tiny. And when she sits in a regular chair, the bar on the fence blocks her view, and that's no good, so she needs to be up. So I got her a chair, and my sons were with me at the time when I picked it out, and I said, ooh, I want that one. So hopefully my gift to her of a chair will result in a gift of a chair to me, because I go to a lot of baseball games, and I would like to sit on a nice, comfy chair that will hold my large body, my large frame. So I threw that in there as a possibility. I've asked for a couple other things, too, because I don't think the dumpster's coming. But the point is, Jim Irsay has assembled the greatest collection of stuff in the history of collections of stuff. And then he died in May, and his kids are like, get it out of here. Nobody wants your collection of anything. I mean, somebody does. You can auction it off, but if you're operating at a lower level, like you're not getting Hendrix guitars and copies, 200-year-old copies of the Declaration of Independence, there's no chance your kids want the stuff that you have. So get rid of it. I'm going to get rid of my stuff. Especially now that, so it's my birthday. My birthday's coming up a week from tomorrow. And I got my first card in the mail. Well, it's not really a card. It's more of a letter and an offer. Happy birthday. Should I read the letter part? I'll just read like this front part here. There's like a card right here. See this? Happy birthday. They're offering me a cooler. This is great. For my birthday, I can get a free grab-and-go cooler. It's the ideal height for tall bottles and stacking cans or containers. It's comfortable, adjustable straps. Or it has comfortable adjustable straps and an easy carry handle. It's got an insulated liner that keeps food and drinks warm or cold. Got 2 outside pockets that can hold keys, phones, utensils, and more. It holds more. It's not just, those pockets don't just hold keys, phone, utensils. More also. So this, what we're talking about here is a premium item. It's a major award. And I can get it free. All I have to do is, and I'd get a discount too. First year should be $20, but for me it's $15. 3 years would be $38 or $38 instead of $55. If I sign up for 5 years right now, it'd be $55 instead of $79. And I think that is a great discount from the AARP, American Association of Retired Persons, I think. I hate persons over people. Listen, AARP. Yeah, I'm 50. 50's the new 48 or something. Get off me. Get off me with your cooler. Try to suck me in with a cooler? I got enough coolers. I got a lot of coolers. I do want this cooler. I am tempted by this cooler. If I could just get the cooler and give them the $15 and then they promise to never email or mail me anything again, reminding me that I'm 50 plus and eligible to be a part of their old person club, that would be nice. Screw you, AARP. I'm fine. Leave me alone. I don't want your cooler. I do want your cooler. I'm tempted. I haven't thrown this out yet. I left it out in part to talk about it and in part because I'm tempted by the cooler. Maybe it would be nice to be a part of the AARP. Dear Brad, it's your birthday. Enjoy this gift and a birthday discount of up to 45% off the standard annual rate when you join AARP. Plus, you'll get a free membership for your spouse or any other household member. Wait, so my 9-year-old can be a member of AARP? Is this like that Gronkowski insurance thing? It's their way of saying happy birthday. Yeah, thanks. At AARP, you get access to valuable benefits and services you won't find anywhere else. What, like walkers? You think I need a walker? What do you think? Need one of those handles for my shower? Jerks. Sometimes using just one of those benefits could pay back the entire cost of your membership. What are you offering me? AARP creates real possibilities by connecting you with others who share your interests through our travel resources and volunteering opportunities. I don't need opportunities to volunteer. You know what baseball we do? You'll also appreciate AARP's trustworthy information and resources. It can help you protect your health, your money, your family, your career, and make the most of life over 50. I'm sure I got this stuff last year. But last year I just turned 50. This year I'm heading into my 50s. This year I'm over 50. I don't want to be over 50. I don't want a reminder of it. Welcome to AARP! Exclamation point. Sincerely, SF Miles. Thanks, SF. P.S. Join today. Get your special birthday discount up to 45% off the standard annual rate, plus your handy grab-and-go cooler. This is how you talk to old people? I might fall for it. Turn it over to find out more benefits. All right, let's see what they give me. Is any of this anything that I need, want, am willing to be an AARP member for? They list 8. 12-month membership for both you and your spouse or household member. All right, so I would choose my spouse, but she's not AARP eligible. She's, what's she? She's 45. All right. 2, discounts on prescriptions. And thanks to AARP's help in leading advocacy, those in Medicare drug plans will not pay more than $2,000 per year for prescription drugs. All right, that's not me. And also, if you're thinking about Medicare, what you want to do is you want to talk to Brian Janik at the Financial Guys, because he handles all of that. He's a 20-plus year expert as an independent insurance broker, and he helps you navigate this stuff. Maybe I'll run this by him. Hey, Brian, is AARP right for me? He better say no. 3, a proven advocate for protecting Social Security, Medicare, and affordable health care. I feel like you were going to do that anyway without my $15, without sending me a cooler. AARP is going to keep doing that. Fine. Discounts on dining, groceries, meal delivery services, and travel plans, including hotels, flights, car rentals, and vacation packages. All right. I'm going to highlight that one. That's something. I like discounts on things that I actually... The problem is, like, you can tell me I have a discount, but then I have to figure out the way to actually utilize the discount, and then I get frustrated, and then I just spent $15 on a cooler I didn't need. And, of course, I wouldn't get the 1-year membership. I'd have to get the 3 because it's a better deal. You're not sucking me in, AARP. Number 5, resources on job search, fraud protection, family caregiving, and staying fit. Sure. Oh, look, resources on fraud protection. Like, I can't find that elsewhere. Get out of here, AARP. Number 6, exclusive interviews, health tips, and financial advice in the AARP magazine. Free with your membership. Is it really free if I have to become a member to get it? Sounds like I'm buying a magazine subscription for $15 that maybe offers me discounts on dining, groceries, meal delivery services, travel plans, including hotels, flights, car rentals, and vacation packages. That part is tempting. I circled number 4. Number 7, access to dental, vision, and life insurance, plus Medicare supplemental health insurance. We're not doing Medicare. I'm 51. Leave me alone. And number 8, AARP Now app for the latest news, local offers, and more. Ooh, you have an app? That seems wise. Yeah, because I find the older people get, the more they're into apps. I'm offended. ARP. That's what I call you now. It's offensive to me. All right, that was AARP. Ursay, trade deadline, don't care. Okay. We talked yesterday with Bob. Was that yesterday? I think so. About Brian Kelly being fired at LSU. Head coach of the LSU Tigers is out after losing 3 out of 4 and never really being a good fit there. For all the talk of like meddling owners, how about a meddling governor? Can you imagine this? Listen to this story. Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry told reporters Wednesday that LSU Athletic Director Scott Woodward won't be involved in selecting the Tigers' new football coach, saying he'd let President Donald Trump do it before Woodward. Oh boy. Replace this. Let's make this Buffalo focused. I'm going to read this as if it's happening here. It's not, but just pretend. New York State Governor Kathy Hochul told reporters Wednesday that UB Athletic Director Mark Allnut won't be involved in selecting the Bulls' new coach. The governor of the state of Louisiana has declared that the athletic director at Louisiana State University will not select the next football coach. Holy crap. Tigers fired Brian Kelly on Sunday after his team lost 49-25 to A&M and gave up 35 consecutive points to do it. They dropped to 5-3. Kelly 34-14 overall in 4 seasons at LSU, winning just under 71% of his games. They've lost 3 of their last 4 after climbing to number 3 in the AP poll. Landry, the governor, Jeff Landry, says, "No, I can tell you right now, Scott Woodward is not selecting our next coach," he said at a news conference in the state capitol, or at the state capitol, excuse me. So the LSU Board of Supervisors will assemble a selection committee to find a new coach, but Woodward won't be a part of it if the governor has his way. And here's his quote. This is the world we live in. This is the governor of Louisiana talking about the head football coach and how the athletic director won't be involved. He says, maybe we'll let President Trump pick it. As if he didn't do this to get on the news and have Trump go, ooh, I like this Landry guy. Who's this Landry? I like him. Good man. Good man. I'm not doing the voice. I'm not trying to do the voice, but this is what's happening. All right. He says, maybe we'll let President Trump pick it. He loves winners. You know, I'm not going to be picking the next coach, but I can promise you we're going to pick a coach, and we're going to make sure that that coach is successful. We're going to make sure that he's compensated properly, and we're going to put metrics on it because I'm tired of rewarding failure in this country and then leaving the taxpayers to foot the bill. Oh, boy. Landry criticized Woodward, the AD, for agreeing to a 10-year, $95 million contract with Kelly that included incentives and which left LSU on the hook for a $54 million buyout under the terms of the deal. He also criticized the AD for agreeing to a similar one-sided coaching contract when he was Texas A&M's athletic director. The Aggies owed football coach Jimbo Fisher more than $76 million when they fired him in November of 23, which was nearly triple the highest-known coaching contract buyout at a public school at the time. Woodward said Monday the school would, quote, continue to negotiate his separation and will work toward a path that is better for both parties. And it goes on from there. But the governor of Louisiana is involved in preventing, at least he's attempting to be involved in preventing the athletic director at the school from picking the next coach because he's mad about losing 3 of the last 4 games and this contract that has a massive buyout in it. That's crazy talk to me. What do you mean you can join AARP at 18? What are you talking about? ER Mom in the chat? Huh? All right. That's all the stuff for today, I think. Chase Dodgers, Trey Savage, 2 home runs to start the game. All these questions for Paul. Oh, promote episode 200. All right. That's how we'll finish things up today. This is episode 199. Tomorrow is episode 200. If you listen to every minute of every show, I'm repeating myself right now, but if you don't, I want you to understand what's happening tomorrow. It was not my intention to ditch you for the 200th episode Halloween spooktacular, but I have to because I have to go to Bowling Green, Ohio. as one does. So I have to leave my house at 10 to get over to UB by 10:15, 10:10, 10:15 to get on a bus and then ride for the whole day to Ohio for a game the next day. And there's just, it's unreasonable for me to do a live show from a bus, trusting technology, trusting that I'm not annoying people. I'm not doing that. So instead, I'm going to spend a good chunk of today. This show's going to end. I'm going to edit this show and put it out in podcast form, both the video and the audio. They'll both be out. And then once that's done, I'm going to assemble a show that will be brand new, but will be pre-recorded for tomorrow. And it's going to be fun and exciting, and I want you to check it out. The one thing you will hear again will be my conversation with Paul that happened today. Paul Peck has missed. He did miss last week's game. He's missing this weekend's game as the play-by-play guy for UB. He's always there, but the reason is he had a heart attack last week, and he came on to talk about it. So if you missed that, you can rewind or catch it later on the podcast. Or you can hear it tomorrow. That'll be a part of it. But I also have already recorded a conversation with my buddy Ben, who we heard from earlier this week, who went to the Bills-Panthers game with 13 of my other friends, and check in with him on how that all went and how our friend group of assorted fandoms has come to root for the Bills, at least as like their second favorite team. Got Giants fans and Steelers fans and maybe not the Patriots fan, but he went to the game anyway, and Panthers fans, and Bears fans, like all these people come together to watch our Buffalo Bills, the America's second favorite team type of situation that's going on. So I had a conversation with Ben about that. That's all new. We did that last night, but that'll be a part of tomorrow's show. And then I'm not sure what's going to happen with Scott Wilson, because when I'm done with this, one of the other things I have to do is record the UB football podcast with him. Maybe we'll play a chunk of that. I definitely will get his pick of the week. He does a football pick every week. So we'll get that in. So there'll be some Scott. There will be some Ben. And there will be some Paul Peck. And it'll all fit together. There will be some music. There's going to be a Halloween aspect. There's going to be a 200th episode aspect. It's all something I'm going to put together today, while also getting ready to be a color guy on a football game for the first time in my life. So that's what I'm up to, and I hope you join me for the show tomorrow, which will kick off at 10 o'clock. I'll be watching or listening or something. I have to, just to make sure it's working. But I'm essentially going to, at 10 o'clock, hit play on a 2-hour show and then walk out the door and get on a bus, and I'll be possibly in Ohio by the time the show ends. Certainly Pennsylvania, but probably Ohio. There's not a lot of Pennsylvania in the trip. Just kind of cut the corner. Like, oh, look, it's Erie. Look, there's a racetrack. Look, there's a casino. Look, there's Splash Lagoon. We're in Ohio. Most of the trip is New York and Ohio. There's a little bit of PA. So I'm guessing by the time the show ends tomorrow, I'll be watching and listening along from the great state of Ohio as we get set for Bulls and Bowling Green Falcons at noon. And again, I encourage you to check out that game. I don't know if I'll be any good, but if you'd like to see me uncomfortable or hear me uncomfortable, tune in. I'll do the pregame show at 11. That'll sound totally normal. And then at noon, we kick off with Scott on play-by-play and me on color, and we'll see how it goes. Again, it is not an audition. It's a one-time thing. Paul's coming back. I'll just go back to my regular job for the next game, but I'm going to try it. So check it out, please. All right, that's it for now. I'll be back with you tomorrow at 10 o'clock for the 200th episode Halloween Spooktacular. That's what I'm going with. That's the name of it. I'm going to have to make a graphic for that.